Yes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters.
Hi, guys. How's everybody?
Yeah, so this is a show, this is a program, this is a podcast, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
where we talk about and discuss all things marriage,
All things marriage.
and relationships.
Yep.
So, for those of you who are watching for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman,
And I'm Tanya Coleman.
and we just come to you every week. We've been off for a couple of weeks. We took a little break.
Yep.
Took a little break to enjoy the family over the
some
holidays.
R&R.
Yeah, so to start this new year running.
Yes.
Is that how you
Yes.
say that?
Rested to run.
Oh, I like that. Rested
Yeah,
to
that's
run.
good, huh?
All right,
Yeah.
rested to run. All right, so new year,
New
new
year.
me, new us.
Yes.
And it's kind of like what we're talking about, in this episode. But we had during this break, we had this opportunity to get together, do some planning, and all those things. So year's been going
Year's going great.
great
thus
so far. New
Yeah.
year, new decade, all that stuff. So before we get into today's topic, I want to let you know that we're going to be doing a live event
Yay.
at one of our favorite spots. It's the Common Grounds Coffee Shop. At
Yes.
Common Grounds Coffee Shop, located on Ryan Street. And we're going to give you more information as that time approaches. It's going to be February 1st at Common Grounds. And this is just going to be an opportunity for us to come together and have an open and honest conversation about marriage. So if you are married, if you're thinking about getting married, if you just want to come hang out with us,
Yeah, please.
and just come out. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk. We're gonna laugh. We're gonna joke, and do all those things. And we're gonna support a great local business.
Absolutely.
Common Grounds.
Absolutely.
If you haven't been to Common Grounds, I would encourage you
Please
to
go down and visit
Great
Miss
coffee.
Michelle. She's so welcome.
Yeah, great coffee, great food, great sandwiches. It's all great.
Yeah,
So,
the sandwiches.
yeah.
That.
Yeah. So probably yeah.
I won't be able to have any when we go, but that's okay.
But that's okay. So. All right, so let's get into today's topic, which is planning to fail.
Plan to fail. Wow.
Planning to fail. So I know you probably read that, you're like, what are they talking about? So we just put the latter part. So there's a quote by the great Ben Franklin, and you've probably heard this before. And it says, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail.
Yeah. Yep. It's all truth in it, you know?
So that's why we call it planning to fail. Because if you're not doing any plan, if you are not planning your life, if you are letting your life happen, it's just going to do that. It's going to happen.
Just happen
It's just going to happen.
by
So
circumstance.
come on,
Just
talk
happen.
to me about that. Actually, this was your topic.
It
idea.
was my topic,
So
huh?
come on, tell
Yeah,
the people
so-
about planning.
Well, we have always believed in sitting down and having discussion. We call them family meetings. And so the family meeting for decision making and planning happens between Glenn and I. And then we will have a family meeting with the kids to inform them of the things that we want them to know that came out of the family meeting. Sometimes they just experience some of the things that come out of the family meeting. So we find it very important to plan our year, to sit down and discuss how things have gone in the past, sit down and discuss the things that we feel that we need to do differently, things that we need to stop doing altogether, things that we need to now incorporate into our lives. And so those discussions help us to set the tone for our year and for our family. And it helps us to continue to check to see if we are on point for our vision for our lives, us as a couple, us as a family, including our children, and us individually as we are pursuing the things that God has called us to do as individuals and as a couple. So I feel like planning is very important for the vision of your household. And so that planning has to include several different areas. And we sat down and did this, some weeks back, where we looked at our spending. We looked at our finances. We looked at how we spend our time. We looked at, things that we wanted to, some things we wanted to go back and start over again or reincorporate into our lives. And so for us, it set us on a pace for the year. And I feel like that's very important for couples to do so that we're not just waking up every day and going in this routine thing. And we have these desires in our hearts that go unmet because we have not set the goal. We have not set the target.
Okay. So why do you think planning, and I know you kind of talked about it, but I want you to go deeper into, because you said we think that planning is important. But why do you think planning is important, and even more than that for our married couples or even our engaged couples? Why is planning together important?
Wow, planning together is super important. So, because oftentimes one individual in the couple, like I said, may have a desire, they may have a thought, they may have a need, they may have an idea in their mind about what this marriage is supposed to look like, where this family is supposed to be going, the direction that we're supposed to be going in. And if that has not been discussed and agreed upon within the marriage, then there definitely can be some challenges down the road. So, for example, if you have one person, and we talked about this a little earlier, who maybe they are a saver, and so they have some savings goals, but they don't let the spouse know that. And so the spouse is, live doing their normal thing, and maybe even they're a spender, and they decide, oh, I want to go and buy a boat, and that
boat?
should be discussed
I
too.
was gonna say, that's a big purchase off the whim. But hey, I believe I received
Yes,
that a
where
boat is
you
just
don't
kind of
have
like, I think I'm gonna go buy me a boat today.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So, I'm just saying.
But I know what you're saying.
by
So
making-
this, and I'll just, for us, if I have in my mindset, we're gonna save, and we're not gonna spend any extra money, and that's what I have in my mind as a plan for our family. Right now, in this season of my life, I want to save as much as we can. But I never communicate that with you. We never sit down and talk about this plan, this great plan of mine, because at the end of this plan, we'll have saved, $10,000, and that $10,000 is going to be invested in this, and that investment is going to bring us, this much money every month, blah blah blah, and this. So you may say you on the mall, whatever, and JCPenney has a sale.
They did just have a really good sale.
And that's why I'm using this. But I'm not talking. She didn't do this, but I'm saying this is how it can but happen. So you're in JCPenney, and you there's a sale, and you're like, man, I gotta buy these whatever,
These
this dress, because man, it's like 50% off,
Right.
or it's 75% off, and it's
Right.
so and you go and spend $200, but you got like $500 worth of clothes or something for $200, and you come home and then you're like, hey man, look at the savings I got, and I'm like, what the heck? What are you doing?
Right.
we're I got this goal, but my point is, how many couples do that? And then so for me now, I'm frustrated because you are.
I'm messing up your plan, your idea, your vision.
Yeah, but
you
you
never
can't,
shared.
right? So that's why planning. The Bible talks about. There's a scripture, I think it's in Amos. It talks about how can two walk together unless they agree, and that agree doesn't necessarily mean they always see eye to eye. But what I think it means when they come together and get on the same page,
Right.
And
so, I'm sorry.
I'll just say, and so I think it'll save a lot of couples a lot of trouble and a lot of headache and heartache if you just sit down. And that's all planning is. Planning is simply sitting down with your spouse or your significant other and saying, hey, here's a goal that I think, here's something that a vision that God has given to me, and here's how we're going to get there. And so you have to let your spouse know that, because if you're not working together, then you're going to be working apart, and there's going to be a lot of frustration. So now I'm frustrated at Tanya, and she may not even know why I'm frustrated,
Right.
and she doesn't deserve my frustration because she didn't even know that that's what I was trying to do. Is
Right.
that?
Right. Right. And so I was going to say a moment ago, I apologize for interrupting
Oh,
you.
that's okay.
But that planning gives us as a family, as a couple, as a family, the playbook. It tells us the things that we need to do to get to the point or the goals that we want to get, that we desire to get to. And so it gives us the playbook that, okay, so if our desire is to have the $10,000 saved, in 6 months or by the end of the year, what have you, then here are the things that we need to do, the maneuvers, the changes, the adjustments that we need to do or that we need to make to get to this destination. The other thing that I was going to say is that when you are sitting to plan with your spouse, then you're thinking about your dreams and your aspirations. And so, if one of you, say for instance, is wanting to pursue higher education, maybe you want to go on and get some other certifications, or there's some big conference that you want to attend, those things should be discussed in that planning meeting for the year. Bring those things to the light, bring those things to the table. Not to say that things won't come up and you can't discuss it later, but if you know that this is something I've been thinking about, this is a desire that I have, then that's the opportunity to bring that into the discussion so that we can put that on the plan, put that on the list, and begin to make the moves that we need to make to get you to that point.
Yeah, and I'll just take this time here
Excuse me.
to kind of speak to our engaged couples, because that's one of the things that we talk to in our premarital
Absolutely.
counseling classes, to our potential bride and groom. I
All
don't
right,
know.
engaged couple.
And engaged couples. Thank you. But we talk about. Are you an entrepreneurial? Do you have an entrepreneurial mindset? Do you have a, 40 hours a week mindset? Because again, a lot of times I think people enter into marriage and they don't know those things about their spouse.
Right.
And your spouse, in your mind, in your spouse's mind, or in your mind, you've always planned on being an entrepreneur. But you have to let your spouse know that going in, because that could be a very
Can create a lot of-
contentious
Right.
decision where if your spouse is all about stability and they want to guarantee, which these days even having a 9 to 5, if you will,
Right,
is
it's not a
it's
guarantee.
not a guarantee. But anyway, but you know what I'm saying, because I grew up. My dad always taught me, get you a good job. If you go to work for this company, you work your 30 years, and then you got a 401k, you got a pension, you got
Right.
benefits,
Right.
you got medical, you got dental, you got
Pay your house off.
all that kind of stuff. But then if your spouse is like, well, that's not really me. I always want to own my own business, and I
Right.
don't want to.
Right.
And that's all part of that, coming up with that life plan together, not separately.
Right.
That's just one example, but there's a lot of examples. Like, the one I thought about was, maybe your wife or your husband wanting to go back to school.
Yes.
Tanya just went back to school and she wanted to finish her master's, and I knew that when I married Tanya, I knew that was something. Actually, she really wanted and still wants a doctoral degree. And we've been discussing that, but I knew that. I knew that education
Right.
and climbing that scholastic, did I say that right?
Scholastic, yes.
Mountain, I don't know. It was important to her. Me, not as much. I'm really not. It's like I've been thinking about going back to school, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm a go, but it's not like something
Right.
that I'm like just really
This
passionate.
burning desire.
But
Yeah.
right, so anyway, so my point in saying all of that is you've got to make things known. I always say this, that it's hard to hit a target that you don't know
Yeah.
what it is. So that's why we do a lot of times in marriage. We have these hidden targets for our spouses. And we're expecting our spouses to live up to these expectations.
Right.
And if they don't know the expectations, how can they live up to them?
That's exactly right.
If they don't know what your needs are, how can they meet them?
Right.
And it's like, giving our spouses, a bow and arrow and saying, hey, and putting a blindfold on them. And it's one thing to see the target, then put the blindfold on, but
Right.
we put the blindfold on first and then put the target out there and say,
Hey,
hit the
shoot it over
target.
there.
And
Yeah.
then when they miss, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you missed."
Right.
And I always say this. I tell Tanya this all the time, and I know I have to work on this too. Is I'm not a mind reader. I can't. I don't know what you're thinking. You have to tell me. And I know, it's so, you want to be romantic.
Yeah.
You want it to be romantic, and they should know. They should know. They don't.
They don't know.
I'm telling.
Yeah,
And let
that
me.
only happens in the
And I'm
movies.
gonna say, especially for ladies, I'm speaking as a man. I'm speaking to you. Tell him, because he don't know. If you want flowers, and he's not getting you flowers, tell him, hey, you know what? I would like flowers sometime.
Yeah.
I would, and the guy probably will get you flowers. But sometimes we just don't know. There's been some things. Well, and I'm trying to think of one where I just assumed some things, with Tanya, because we're not perfect, and I'm trying to think of a
no.
good example. But I assumed some things, and then when I went and asked her about it, she was like, "Well, not, no, not really. I don't like that," or, So I was like, "Oh, okay." So, but now that I know that, I can do better. Does that make sense?
I wanted to give a few things of maybe a few examples of things that couples can include in their planning time or
Okay.
their vision meeting
Okay.
for the
Well,
year.
because that's a good place to wrap up.
Okay.
So before we go there, I want to talk about one more thing. And why do you think couples don't plan, or what are some hindrances to that?
To planning?
To planning. Yeah.
I believe that there are several. Some couples just don't have good communication, and so they don't like to sit down and talk about the big things because in their minds we're going to wind up in a fight.
Okay.
What's the point? She's just going to do what they want to do anyway.
Okay.
So a lot of that is communication. Maybe the relationship isn't healthy. Maybe they don't deem it necessary to do together because they're focused on just their own personal growth and their vision for themselves.
And I'm gonna say it is so necessary.
Yes, it is very necessary.
It is very necessary. Go
It's
ahead.
very necessary. And so you have a lot of things like that, and maybe some people just don't know. They don't even plan their own individual goals and dreams
Yeah.
and what they want to accomplish this year. That there's no plan for that, so they didn't even consider that this is something that we need to do as a couple.
Yeah. Okay.
So
And here's the thing: how do you start? You just start. So maybe you and your spouse or you and your significant other, just one day sit down with a pad and what are some things you'd like to see happen in our marriage? And
Yeah.
like Tanya said, you can have different categories. You can have finances. You can have your relationship, romance. You can have kids. You can have health. Whatever
Your spiritual
category, your
growth.
spiritual growth. Okay,
Yep.
right. So
Education,
all those
fitness,
things,
health.
put those in and plus I would like to, I would like to in 2 years I want to take my family on a trip to Europe.
Right.
I want to take them on a European
Right.
vacation. Okay, so now that we know that, then we could put a place in that. We
Right.
could call a travel agent to see how much it is. Okay, it's going to cost us $10,000 to
Right.
go to Europe as a family, the way we want to go.
Right.
Okay, so $10,000, we got this many months.
Right.
We can break that down by month. We can start making payments on it. So by the time the trip comes, then boom, it's paid for. So just
Yep.
start
Just
somewhere.
start. And don't, we talked about trips and education and all of that, but also I know for us this year we had to revisit that self-care and that quality time that we spend with one another, that we spend with our children. And so we're planning things like more staycations at home where we do nothing, we go nowhere, we see no one. It's just us because we have to, the family stays so busy, literally Sunday through Saturday, we have somewhere that we are obligated to be. And so we have to keep that cohesiveness. We're getting back to more dinners at the table together throughout the week. That's something that we used to do all the time, but once life got really busy, the kids are doing homework half of the time during dinner, and one of us may be out at a meeting or rehearsal or something like that, and so we miss a lot of that time. So we're going back to some basics and saying, hey, we need to sit down at this table together as a family at least 3 times, Monday through Friday, and of course on Sundays. Getting back to consistent family Bible study. All 4 of us have our own individual study time or prayer time, but getting back together as a family consistently and just not sporadically. Those are things that we're making to happen on purpose, and we're doing it intentional in our home and in our household.
And what that does, and I'll just talk about that a little bit, and then you can close with the point you were
Yeah.
going to make. But what that did for me, I know, like I'll give you an example with the having a family dinner at least 3 times a week. So now, every week on Sunday nights, Tanya and I will look at the calendar and we'll say, okay, what nights are we going to do so it causes us to plan out our weeks as a family. Okay, we're going to do a family dinner on Monday night, we're going to do a family dinner on Thursday night, and then we'll do a family kind of dinner, fun night, game night on Friday night. So then I could put that into my calendar, and so now that becomes my priority on those nights. So when other things try to come up on those nights, I can say, you know what, I can't do that. And it's making me really reprioritize my life. Because I think a lot of time, that's the other thing about when you don't plan, is the less important things become your priority, and you never get a chance to do the important things.
Right. It's like that. Your little rocks begin to fill up your bucket, and you don't have room for the big rocks. You got to put the big rocks in first.
You got to put the big.
Yeah.
And that's what planning gives you the opportunity to do. So go ahead and close us out with.
So just to give you all some ideas for the things that if you've never sat down and planned your year, talked about vision with your spouse, things of that nature, here are just some very basic, simple ideas of things that you can discuss. Thank you. So I'm looking at my laptop, and I was trying to do it off to the side, and I can't see. So some things that you maybe want to discuss. One of the things that we talked about, of course, is finances. Looking at the previous year's spending, where our money went, giving, the budget for groceries, of course, the bills and things like that. And looking at how we just kind of spent sporadically, Starbucks. Whew.
That's one. I know we spend a lot of money at Starbucks, but you can't touch my Starbucks budget, okay? I'm just letting you know.
Okay, we'll discuss later. That's one of those things.
I'm putting my foot down.
Well, it's not just you; it's also me. So
You can adjust your Starbucks budget, but I'm not.
But I can't adjust yours.
No.
We can't adjust your Starbucks budget.
Everybody should have something in a relationship that's theirs.
Okay.
I'm just playing.
We will discuss that later. I'm like, okay, where is he going? This is new.
I'm just playing. I don't have to have Starbucks.
This is new. But, things like that, where that conversation is actually real, for a couple. You can't touch my shoe budget. You can't touch my whatever budget. My Mac budget, what have you. I was talking about makeup for computers.
Yeah, I made that mistake too. I'll tell you that story another time.
But looking at your finances, again, planning your time, how often are you going to take that trip with your spouse? How often will you take trips with your children? How often are you going to just take some time out from the rest of the world and invest in yourself? Planning your aspirations, like I said, trainings, thinking about trips that you may have to take for professional development, things of that nature, maybe personal growth and development. There are a lot of different organizations, coaches, things like that, who offer trainings out there that's more for your personal development and growth. Take advantage of some of those things, but definitely seek out the information and plan it. But sitting down and having those conversations, chores, that's something else that we revisited in our planning session. How we distribute the chores in our home, and ensuring that the children have an adequate amount of responsibility of helping out in the house, and understanding that this time of the year they're in school, they are busy too. They have a lot of homework, studying, and extracurricular things that they're involved in, church things and things like that. But we do have to teach them how to manage their time, and that sometimes you will be really busy outside of the home, but you still have responsibilities to take care of in the home, because those are things that we have to do as adults. And as we're training them and transitioning them into young adults, we want them to be responsible and be able to manage their time, and all of the emotions that come along with that. So just some simple things out there. Maybe we will put a couple of links or ideas in the show notes, so that you will have resources, some resources that you can pull on. So,
Okay.
And always inbox or send a comment.
Yeah, questions,
Yeah.
which brings me to my next point. So, in closing, like Tanya said, man, we love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So, if you want to leave comments on this video, please do share the video. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, absolutely.
If you want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, it's at Marriage Matters 052. Yes, at Marriage Matters 0526. I apologize. At Marriage Matters 0526 on Instagram and on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the notification bell next to the subscribe button so you get notified every time we post a video. If you have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about or discuss, you can always send us a direct message. Also, you can email us at info@marriagematterstous.com. info@marriagematterstous. marriagematterstous.com. Or you can send us a text message. If you prefer to text, it's 337-415-9535. 337-415-9535. All right. So those are all the ways you can get in contact with us. You can even call that number and leave a voice message if you want to.
Yes.
Most people, don't like to talk to each other, which goes back to the communication problem.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's all we have for you today. So remember, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Don't just allow life to happen to you.
Yes.
Come up with a plan, come up with a
Yes.
strategy, and change your life,
Yes.
change your marriage, change your destiny, all those
Be
things.
intentional about
Yeah,
that.
and be in control. Be the master of your, how do you say it? Be the captain of your,
Ship.
I'm the captain of my fate.
I'm the
I don't
captain of
know.
my ship, the master of my soul.
Is that what they say?
Something like that.
What she
I probably
said.
got it wrong, but
Anyway,
we'll go with
take charge of your life. That's what we're trying to say. Get your life. That's
Get
what we're
your
trying to say.
life.
Anyway, this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman saying, remember, your marriage
Marriage matters.
We will see you next week.
See you next week.